Chris. We're actually surrounded with Christmas here. We had Chris Redfern here earlier. I did a podcast with him, sitting right down there on that table. We did a great job, and so we got a picture of the three Chris's right there. That's right. And everybody said, "What do you call Christopher or Chris?" I say, "Just don't call me late for dinner." Whatever happens. So, first off, I've got two confessions that I need to make to you. That is a really bad one, and then one that I hope I can overcome. I'll take the one I can overcome first. I spent 20 years in the Republican Party. I used to be a Republican. But I'm where I need to be now. There you are. Where I need to be and where I'm going to stay. The other one that's really bad is this one. We own and operate 560 acres, corn, soybeans, wheat, and all that kind of stuff, but I got 90 cows. So I'm not all hat and all cat, no cattle. I've got the cattle. But here's the one that's really egregious. In the cattle business, in the cowboy business, you don't wear a black hat until after Labor Day. But I thought, you know what? It's cool. It's close enough. So there we go. Yeah. I want to tell you briefly, I've got just a short time here, so I want to make sure we get to our featured candidates. I want to tell you about a little bit of where I came from. I was in the Republican Party, left the Republican Party in 2019 because it no longer represented my core values. The Republican Party that I used to be chair of in Shelby County, I was the chair for 7 years, believed in statesmanship, diplomacy, personal responsibility, and even compassionate conservatism. Those are all gone. I left the party in 2019, actually over trade. It was a trade dispute. Because this is deja vu all over again. At that time, President Trump 1.0, had applied punitive tariffs to all of our traditional trading partners. Canada, Mexico, Japan, Australia, the EU, all of it. And China. China's another discussion, okay? But all of those traditional trading partners, they reciprocated, provided reciprocal tariffs against us, retaliatory tariffs against our agricultural products. I lost 20% of my income overnight in July of 2018. So I wasn't very happy. I wrote a letter, an op-ed, because at that time the president was going to do exactly what the Secretary of Agriculture in her confirmation hearing said she was going to do this time if we got into trouble. They were going to raid the Treasury and pay farmers restitution. I called it hush money. So at the time, I was so mad because I'd spent 30 years in USDA. I'd administered federal farm programs. I never had administered a hush money program. Conservation, et cetera, disaster, price support, everything. I had not administered a hush money program. I wrote an op-ed, and I said, in that I wrote a riddle, and I said, I slept with a billionaire because he said he loved me. When I got up in the morning, I found out that all I got was screwed. When I went to tell the world about it, he offered me money to keep my mouth shut. Who am I? No, I'm not her. I'm the American farmer. That's exactly what happened, and that's exactly what got me thrown out of the Republican Party. And I was glad of that. So fast forward, what happens? I hang out for 3 years as an independent. We call them undeclareds in Ohio. I hang out because I'm looking for a place to make a difference, like a real difference, because we have to balance. We have to balance this power. We are totally out of balance now. We have to balance that power. How can I make a difference and provide balance so that we all have a voice? I hung out. Actually, at the time, Tim Ryan come walking over the hill, and I looked at him and I said, you know what? Because I just couldn't quite get to the Democratic Party. I just wasn't wired that way. And, by the way, I voted for Jeb Bush, so you understand where, in the primaries, you understand where I'm at, moderate. Even though he had gotten off the ballot by that time. But since I created the ballot, I was the chair of the election. I knew it. We took that stuff out of the computer. So Tim Ryan comes walking over the hill, and I say, you know what? He sounds like me. Pragmatic, compassionate, wants to just get stuff done, no bullshit. Wow. If he can be a Democrat, I can be a Democrat. So in May of 22, the Supreme Court, the Ohio legislature, both sides, the House and the Senate, they gave me a gift. Believe it or not, they gave me a gift. They gave me the opportunity to vote in a primary in May of 22. Because we were voting for what? Congress at that time. I think the first one was a Congress the first time, in the House race is the second. In May, I walk in, I pull a Democratic ticket. I was a Democrat right there in May. And if that wasn't enough, in August we had to do it again because of the state and Senate races. And by golly, I got to pull a Democratic ticket again. So I was a double Democrat in 22, and I'm where I'm going to stay. Now, so that kind of got the attention of the Shelby County Democratic Party. They asked me to come in as a central committee person, and I end up as chairperson. So what do we do from there? This is about raising the stature, raising the profile of local Democrats. Because Democrats were in hiding, and maybe some are still today. I said, we're going to get you out of hiding. We're going to get you to stand up. You don't make anybody. We're going to promote you to stand up and tell why you are a Democrat and be proud of it. So we get a bunch of Democrats in the room, and we say, we're going to put a platform convention together, and we're going to find out what our values are. The first thing I want you to know, I want you to tell me why you're a Democrat. Silence. I said, by the way, I'm not interested in this 35,000-foot ethereal stuff, liberty and justice and all that. No. I want to know why you're a Democrat. Do it in 6 or 7 seconds. Because there's 3 times you're going to need to know that. The guy at the Walmart line, when he's got his finger in your chest saying, why are you a Democrat? You know the guy.
I'll tell you.
Yeah. The other one is when you're sitting beside a senior young lady in church, she says, why are you Democrat? The other one is crazy Uncle Leo down at the end of the Thanksgiving table leans over and says, why the hell are you a Democrat? You need to know. It was difficult for people, but we finally got people to understand why they were. I told them, I said, here's why I'm a Democrat. Because I want to be part of a party that looks for solutions for people, not retribution and revenge against individuals. It's just that simple. I can do it in 6.06 seconds. The other thing, I said, I want to know what your values are. I want to know what's really important to you. So we sat down and we determined what values were important to us. Where's our value sheet? Now I'm going to ask you to walk away with the camera. So let me grab that rascal. I was put back here. I should have had one. I'm coming. We did a platform convention, and we came up with everything that were values that Democrats believe. Okay, values on one side, what we believe on the other, more policy issues. You know what? Every one of these things is a shared value with our Republican neighbors. Yeah. Every one is a shared value.
That's right.
So now we're going to lift people up. We're going to lift Democrats up. We call them Democrats of the Month. And each month we pick a Democrat out of our fold and out of the people in Shelby County, all 1,100 of them. And we pick somebody, we lift them up, push them out on our social media, and people say, wow, I didn't know she was a Democrat. Now all of a sudden we've normalized that individual. They're an aide, they're a school aide, they're a school bus driver, they're a hospital worker, they're a factory worker, they're whatever, they're a farmer, okay? We lift them up, put them out to the public, and people come, then these folks that we lift up in Shelby County, they come back to us and they say, people come up to me on the street and said, I didn't know you were a Democrat. What do? We've normalized that individual. That's what we have to do over and over and over again. That's what we're doing in Shelby County. I'll quickly move to one thing leads to another, and I end up as Rural Caucus Chair for the Ohio ODP Rural Caucus. here's what we're going to do. And I want to introduce Maria Heddle. Yeah, excuse me, Maria Heddle. She is our regional vice chair. Okay. Give her a big round of applause. This is the individual that you need to talk to. Let her talk to you. You talk to her and talk about rural issues, and she will get them to us. Okay. Right. This is one of our brand new elected folks. Here's what we're going to do in a rural caucus. I'm going to mount a listening tour. Everybody's done listening tours, but by God, this time we're going to listen. Okay, we've divided the state into 9 regions. Somebody took a Sharpie or something and did that. Well, we've got 9 regions that we're going to go to. We've got 9 vice chairs, just like Maria, but not as good. We're going to land in each of those regions, and we're going to make it safe for people to tell us why they left the Democratic Party. That's the first group I want to hear from, is I'll call them legacy Democrats that left the party because it no longer represented in Western Ohio, and my view is probably all across the Midwest. They felt the party did not represent their core values anymore. Right or wrong, I don't care what the fault is, but they left. I want to hear from them. Make it safe. What's it going to take to get you back? I want to hear. I also want to hear from independent thinkers. All right. Not independents like in the sense of undeclared or something like that. I want to hear from those people. I want to hear what do you expect out of the Democratic Party? What do you expect out of your legislators? What do you expect out of your politicians? I want to know that information. And then I want to hear from legacy Republicans like me. They're out there. They're looking for a place to park their vote. They're looking for a safe place to park their vote. Heretofore, they haven't believed that the party was safe to park their vote because they didn't believe we shared their core values. We have to continue to demonstrate that. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk to rural folks. We're going to gather that data up. We're going to plop it on the desk of the Ohio Democratic Party, and I'm labeling this Building Country Roads for Candidates to Run On. Building country roads for candidates to run on, so that when a candidate lands in a rural county, they know what's important to those people, and they can express and share and talk about their shared values. So that's what we're up to. We're going to get that done. It's the right thing to do, and I'm hoping that I'm the person to do it. And I'll finish with this. I speak 3 languages. Yeah. I speak rural Ohio, rural America. Villages, towns, small areas, not urban areas, country roads, gravel roads. I speak the second language that many Democrats don't, agriculture. Yep. I'm a farmer. Yep. Own and operate 560 acres. I know the business, all right? I speak that language. It's 2 different languages in rural Ohio. You can't roll into a county and expect to talk to rural folks and not be able to speak farmer, not be able to speak agriculture. They're 2 different things. Rural folks are interested in clean water, good schools, good roads, etc., good prices, whatever. Farmers are interested in markets and regulations and cost of doing business and so forth. That's what they're interested in. Okay, so you got to be able to speak those languages. I speak both. The third language I speak that many don't is Legacy Republican. I speak Legacy Republican. I'm fluent in it. I do not speak MAGA. I shall not speak thy name. I do not speak MAGA. Those folks, many of them are lost. We don't need that. We need the legacy folks that are looking for a place to park their vote, the independent thinkers, and the Democrats that we lost. That's where we're going. So I'll end with this. Why do we need to know that? It's exactly what an old cattle proverb is that I try to run our operation in the political party with is this. Every time you think you're out riding in front of the herd, it's a good time to turn around and make sure they still are following you. So that's what we're going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. Chris, thanks for more than 10 minutes.